Recording. So welcome everyone. I'm your host, Sarah Bunge. I'm so excited to be here today. Just first of all, just to see all the smiling faces, people from all over the country. It's absolutely incredible to have all of these people here from everywhere. I wish we should start these a half hour early, right? And do some more connecting and talking and sharing of the weather, which is always a great topic of conversation, it seems like. So I am thrilled that I get to work with Kristen Walton and Tina Campbell constantly throughout the weeks, building and creating amazing training and mastermind and masterclass sessions for you. Today, I am so excited to have Rob Genovese as our main presenter. Rob, if you've met with Rob before, you know how blessed you are, right, to know him. If you don't, make sure you reach out if you've not met with Rob before. He's had an incredible journey when he transitioned from the corporate world into his own branding company. He got introduced to Master Networks. That's a whole incredible story that you really have to hear during a face-to-face meeting. It's been wonderful. And Rob just comes from contribution all the time. That's how he got introduced, and he lives and breathes that contribution and bringing value to others. So I want to thank him for being willing to contribute to our incredible mastermind today. And you know, ROI is a tough topic. If you've ever, my background is employee training, and sometimes it's hard when I've been working in a company or with other companies to help them understand, how do you calculate ROI of a training event or workshop you bring in, or some specific training for a particular job for a person. In some ways, Master Networks is really easy to calculate ROI, but we need to go beyond those easy calculations and look at all the amazing ways we get a return on investment from this amazing community that we have built and that you are a part of and you help build. So Rob, without further ado, I am excited to introduce you, to have you join us today and share your words of wisdom around the 6 forms of ROI. So join me in welcoming Rob.
All right. Well, thank you, Sarah. Good to be here. Thank you all for taking your time out of your busy day and week to come here. It's good to see people from all over the place. And, you know, anytime I do these talks, I'm always very nervous beforehand. It's just, no matter how many times I talk, I still can't get those butterflies in formation. But don't worry, as soon as I get going, everything will be okay. So I am Rob Genovese, and, you know, if you don't know me, I am the regional director of New Jersey for Master Networks, building that region over there, in tandem with Tina Campbell, who is regional partner of New York and Connecticut. I'm also a brand developer, a brand supporter. I own a brand community. I also own a branding company. We brand mid-sized businesses. And, you know, I got in Master Networks like most everybody for money, right? So I was invited to a Master Networks meeting. I was already part of a couple of other networking groups here in New York. I live in New York, but New Jersey is like right there, like right out the window. And I was across the Hudson River at another county in Westchester County one night, and I just was at an event, and a guy I didn't know struck up a conversation with me. He was working the door, and we just became fast friends. Anybody ever had that? Like, you just hit it off with somebody just like that. And you know, inside of 2 hours, you know, I knew we were going to exchange business cards. But as I was leaving that night, I was like, "Hey, good to meet you. I'll see you." And I was walking out there. He goes, "Hey, hold on a second." He goes, "Hey, you know, I'd like to invite you to come visit my networking group, because we're going to meet this Thursday morning, just up the street here." Now, up the street for me was, you know, 35 minutes away. For him, it was right up the street. So I looked at him and I said, "Okay. Now, if I'm not going to do something, I'm not going to tell you okay and not do it. I'm going to tell you, I'm so sorry. Thank you very much. And not for me," whatever the case may be. I went because I liked the guy. And when I got to my first Master Networks meeting, halfway through the meeting, I thought, I'm in this thing. Why? Because of the people. Plain and simple, the people. I was networking already, but was not happy and not getting results. And I didn't think business should be that difficult to build in terms of a network if you have to just build relationships with people. When I came to Master Networks, I said, these are my people. So I went home, I signed up right away. I don't have to deliberate on something. When I see value, I pounce on it. So I sought out to build my network. Now, I got in 3.5 years ago, almost 4 years ago in a couple months. I had no network at all. Nothing to speak of. I came out of 25 years in the corporate world. I was new to full-time business. I was building my company on the side while I had a job, but no time to build a network. You got to have time for that. And so when I got in, no network. So what I did was I did what I was taught. I did face-to-faces. I visited other chapters. I did what you're supposed to do. Now, I did experience some referrals fairly soon. Anybody like me experience some fairly soon. Some people not so soon. There's a lot of factors involved in that. But we always talk about referrals, right? And a lot of us come from other networking worlds. Like, BNI is a referral-based networking model. That's the agreement. It's a referral. You come there to give and get referrals for the most part. That's the agreement, okay? And so that's fine. But I think we've all been trained to think the referral is the ROI. If I don't get that referral, then there's no ROI. And I'm here to tell you, not true, right? Sometimes we've been programmed for so long that we start to believe what we've been told and not think about alternatives. So what I want to do is this. I actually would love to see everybody here. Just take me off spot. Oh, that's better. Oh, I can't stand looking at myself while I'm talking. It's frightening. All right, so what we're going to do is this. I want to first just build a disclaimer in here. Now we're talking about networking, right? So we're talking about meeting people. Some people go, oh, it's business card exchange. It is not, right? This is about building relationships. Again, leave the referral-based thinking beside. The passing referrals, we do that, but that is not what we do. We are here to talk about one thing, building business. All right, are you with me? Can we open up our mind to building business? Let's do business. Let's not look for the easy shortcut, which is, hey, if you give me a referral, maybe I can give you a referral and see you next week. All right, it's got to go beyond that in order to get the real ROI. So here's my disclaimer. As we talk about people and relationships, I want you to understand something. I am not talking about using or manipulating people. We're talking about a mutual exchange of value. Because sometimes I think when I talk to people, it might sound like you're using relationships or using people to get what you want. I'm not talking about that. And if you know me, you know that's not true. We're talking about mutual exchange of value. Okay, fair enough. There's a disclaimer. We can move on. All right, so here's what we're going to do. First, we're going to do a breakout. And Sarah's going to set up some breakout rooms of about 3 or 4 people. We're going to go out for about 8 minutes. And I want to give you a question because I need you to open up your mind. Anybody Matrix fans? Free your mind, right? Leave aside the self-doubt, leave aside the limiting beliefs, free your mind. So I want you to open your mind. In order to do that, I'm going to ask you a question. And here's the question. Besides networking for referral, what other things could you do to create revenue in your business? So besides networking for referral, but inside networking, what other things could you do to create revenue in your business? Now, this is brain dump time. This is creative thinking. There's no bad ideas. I want you guys to go out into a breakout room and I want you to talk about it with one another. And I want you to brainstorm things you could do in networking to create revenue in your business. And Sarah, you just give me a thumbs up when you get that breakout room ready. Oh, she's got it ready. All right. All right. So we're going to go out for 8 minutes and then we're going to come back. All right. So we'll see you guys in a bit. Here we go. All right. Can everybody hear me? Just give me a wave if you can hear me, if you're back. All right, because I don't want to start talking until everybody can actually hear me. Give me a wave. Everybody back? Yeah? Getting waves. I'm getting some waves. I'm getting some blank faces. Some people are sleeping. That's okay. I'm used to that. All right, so here we go. So I hope you had enough breakout time to talk about this stuff because the question was, besides network, now we're talking about networking, right? So plain and simple, we're not talking about email marketing. We're not talking about direct mail. We're talking about networking. So besides networking for referral, what other things could you do to create revenue in your business? I want you to pop it in the chat. What either you heard or what you do that answers that question. What other thing could you do, while networking that would create revenue in your business? Networking now, okay? Pop it in the chat. So we got, of course, Maggie's going to say social media, right? That's the answer to everything with Maggie. Social media, it's not far off, right? So Rick is saying collaboration, education, friendship, connection, testimonials, teaching, book club, educational events, collaborations, affiliate partners, Speaking opportunities, that's good. Thank you, Tina. AB, start a conversation with somebody. He's grassroots. Always comes back to the basics. All right. Referrals from existing clients, lead magnet, email swap. Okay, I'm talking about networking, not email. All right, so let's keep it right on that, because everything I'm going to talk to you about has to involve people directly, networking, relationships. All right, so I'm going to share my screen here. So we got some things in the chat. This is good. Maggie says helping someone out. Sure. And what's interesting here is this. It's not a heck of a lot of answers in there. Not a heck of a lot of a variety of answers, which tells me one thing. Either you're not participating or there's just not a lot of answers that are apparent to us. And that's why we're here. I want to, again, free your mind, the matrix, free your mind. Remember Morpheus? Free from the limiting beliefs, free from what you've been taught already. You've got to rethink. You've got to think again, all right, about what you've been taught. So here's what we're going to do. I want to talk to you about, number one, this is the most obvious. Now, just to reiterate, you've chosen networking as part of your marketing strategy. I hope you realize that. And now we're going to talk about how we're going to make it the most profitable part of your strategy. All right, so can you see my my slideshow here? Gaining massive value from your membership. Okay, great. Great, you see that. All right, so here's the deal. Let me hide you guys for a second. And I want to get to the first one. Let's get this kind of out of the way. Let's talk about relationships, right? Because we're talking about relationships, because that's what Master Networks is. It's a relationship-based networking model. It is not referral-based networking model. You have to work for your meal. You have to work for whatever it is you're looking for. And I want to talk to you about relationships that come in degrees, because you've got to understand something. Relationships do come in degrees. You have those people, when you look at the center here, that's you in the center, you have who's closest to you, your family and your close friends. Those are your inner circle, your confidants. These are people you share things with. You become vulnerable with these people. They know you in some of your weak times. They know, some of your fears. They know these things. And you don't let just anybody in there, right? You have to develop that over time. Family, you're kind of born with them, so they know stuff about you. You wish they didn't sometimes. But when you have close friends and they know stuff about you, you got your close friends, you treasure them, right? And there's not that many, right? There's only a few. The next ring out, we have casual friends. Now, notice how each ring is getting farther away from you. These casual friends, they're people you have small talk with. And this happens a lot of times actually at mixers and things. Somebody, you've seen them for a couple of times, maybe you had a face-to-face or two, and then it's small talk. It's the sports, it's weather, it's how's business, how's your family sometimes. Hey, you want to play golf, that kind of thing. And it doesn't go far beyond that. You don't jump from, hey, good to meet you, to let me tell you about my serious medical problem, right? You just can't go that fast. You freak people out. You can't do that. On the outer ring, and I'm simplifying this, right? I'm simplifying. Your acquaintances. These are people you say hi to. It's like the sup factor, right? You walk into your neighborhood, you see your neighbor, you don't really know each other, you go, hey, sup. You give the New York nod, hey, what's up? And that's it, and you move on. You're walking your dog, you keep going. Why? There's no real relationship there. There's no relationship. And the idea here is everybody outside of the people basically you haven't met yet. And that's your pool of Master Networks people. We'll talk about Master Networks. They're the people you haven't met yet, and they're going to go through these stages. Now, I have people in my life who have moved from I didn't know them to acquaintances to casual friends to they are my close friends. And they know stuff about me, and I know stuff about them. So I want you to keep this in mind as we go, because this is really important. We're going to get into the 6 forms of ROI. So the first one here, we already did a breakout question. Never mind that. All right, here's the 6 forms of ROI. You're going to see a theme here. So the first one is cash. It's the most obvious. Those are basically the referrals. Second one, connections, collaborations, classes, camaraderie, and community. I had to use alliteration because it's the only way I could remember these, and it'll help you remember them too. So then we're going to go through these, each of them a little bit at a time. So let's go to the first one, cash. ROI number 1 is cash. It is who is referring you, right? We were talking about this in the breakout room. I was actually in a breakout room with a few people, and we talked about referrals because it's the most obvious. And we had Claudia in there. Claudia said, I'm new in business. I don't know. I have a lot of methods for creating revenue in my business with networking. I said, but you've heard of referrals. Oh yeah, I know about referrals. Me too, day one. Oh, referrals. Okay, we're referral partners. That's all you've been taught. So this is kind of simple and fast. And I don't mean fast as in the referrals come in fast and furious. I mean, this is the quickest way to revenue. So a lot of people stop at this and they go, oh, I got a referral this week. Woohoo! And then for the next 3 weeks, I didn't get a referral. I don't know if this is working. Hold on a second. Who told you that referrals were the only way you're going to develop revenue and that you could only rely on those? Okay. So here's one way to do this. This may sound simplified, and again, this is the most simple one. Develop a soundbite that intrigues people enough to want to learn more about how you do what you do, not what you do, how you do what you do, so it leads to referrals. I'm not spending time on this because you guys kind of know this and we hear about it all the time, but I want to get to the second one. So second one is this. Second one's connections. We talked about this in the breakout room. Bill Utenage, he came up with this one. Connections. I was like, right on, Bill. I wrote that down, I made a note. So Chaz said, you're only one relationship away from changing your future. And when I heard that, when I first got in, I'm like, it sounds good, right? But what does that really mean? Well, here's my experience. My experience is when I got in, I told you about the guy who invited me, Pasquale Palumbo, good friend of mine, president of the Mount Pleasant chapter, just a great guy, great guy. Well, he held the meeting, and one day he asked Tina Campbell to come in. Tina Campbell comes in one day. I meet her. She says, hey, you know what? I know you want to do some training. Why don't you do this workshop? Well, I did this workshop in New York back in February of 2020. Just so happens Chaz was in town and decided to crash my workshop. Lucky me, right? So after we did the workshop, I got a chance to be at lunch with Chaz, sat right next to him with a lot of other people, wasn't one of them, and got to know him a little bit. What did that lead to? That lead to more speaking opportunities throughout the region, throughout the country, at Connect, and led to me becoming regional director in New Jersey. So what is the connection worth? That one connection that, by the way, I worked it. I said yes to Pasquale, even though I didn't want to join a networking group. When Tina said, hey, you want to help out? I could have said, I'm kind of busy. I opened the doors open. You got to walk through to see what's on the other side. So that's my experience. And those speaking engagements, they led to revenue. They led to people who go, hey, you know, I heard your talk. I want to talk more about what you do with branding. So that led to revenue. Connections lead to revenue. And that's, you may go, well, that's a referral. Well, not really. Nobody said, hey, I've got a friend or I got a colleague who needs branding, give him a call. It didn't work that way. I had to work that. So those connections are going to be key for you. And I would say this, connect with people. Here's what I did early on. And again, remember what I said about my disclaimer, I'm not using people or manipulating people. How do you go into a networking organization and there's hundreds of people you could meet? And how do you build a valuable network so quickly that you get revenue? Well, you do it strategically. And sometimes I think that people think you just shotgun all over the place and you hope to meet by chance, praise God, that I meet the person I need to meet. It's largely not going to happen. So what did I do? I listened in the chapter meetings and the mixers, and I kept hearing certain names would pop up again and again. I said, who's this Maggie Carey person? You know what? She went down on my list. People keep talking about her. I'm going to meet her, right? Who's this Sammy Vecchiola person? Who's this Sammy Sunshine? I wrote it down. I'm going to meet her. So I made it a priority to connect with the connectors. Why? They're the ones making things happen. And usually they're the ones who are most successful in business most of the time. But at the very least, they're the ones already out there making all the connections. And guess what? They can introduce you to the connectors. You want to build a bigger network, a stronger one, faster? You do that. I'm not devaluing everybody else. I'm just saying we're talking about business and creating revenue. So what does that mean? You've got to connect with people who are connectors themselves so they can connect you with the people you need to create opportunity. But you got to do the same for them. Bill said it. He goes, I see who I can connect them with. He didn't say, hey, who can you connect me with? He said, who can I connect them with? Because it makes me look, you know, like the go-to guy, I think he said, something like that, right? Is that making sense? It's the connections. All right, let's move on from here. The next one, the next form of ROI is number 3. This is collaborations. And I saw that in the chat. And this, again, this is one of the more obvious ones, but listen, not everybody does this kind of stuff. I mean, those who collaborate, look, you want to collaborate. And again, 5th core value, results. You need to know what result you're looking to get so you know what the collaboration should look like. So collaborations, I'll give you this. We got some experience here. There's the D in bond. Everybody familiar with bond? My first time am I hearing this? If you're brand new, you haven't heard of it yet, so don't worry. But the D in bond says develop opportunity. It didn't say deserve opportunity. You must develop it. We're talking about building business here, not automatic cash flow, all right? So the collaborations part, so let's look at, can they be valuable? Let's think about this. If you only go for the referral, for the cash, you sit and you wait. But when you collaborate with somebody else, you open up new doors of revenue. Take Rachel Sirota and Nicole Dupuy. They collaborated. They're two coaches. They both overlap in the wellness industry. I know them both. They're both leaders where we are, presidents of chapters. Rachel's an area director. They collaborated for almost a year, right? They would meet monthly. They would talk regularly. They wrote a book together. And out of that book, yeah, they make a little bit of money. We know how that goes. You don't make money on books. That's not how you're going to get rich, right? But it's what comes out of it. Now they're talking about doing workshops and retreats as a collaboration to create more revenue, right? Because what does it do? It attracts more people who are more in line to be their ideal client. So you could sit around and wait for the cash, wait for the referral. But if you collaborate with somebody, guess what? You combine your audiences. So you want a bigger audience? Collaborate with somebody else. They'll bring their audience, and now you've got a whole new universe of people that could be potential clients of yours. Take Rick Gabriel and Frank Vandenhorst. Rick's in the room. Frank's in the Netherlands. He's part of Master Networks, right? These guys, they told me this. They did in-person events. They did 2 of them. He gave me the numbers, but basically thousands of dollars that year that they did those events in revenue that wouldn't have been there before. And they also did a podcast, which birthed an online subscription-based membership, brings in thousands of dollars a year that was not there before Frank and Rick got together. We're talking about creating revenue, not asking for a transaction, right? We got tons of these. Harvey Ginsberg and Brett Copland, right? Harvey runs a print packaging business. Brett runs a promotional products business. Well, they got together. Harvey was expanding his offerings. He needed an expert in the area, brought him into his company, and now Brett becomes the guy for his company that Harvey needed. Guess what? Now Harvey's got a new avenue of revenue, and Brett's the guy supplying. So he's doing more business because of the collaborative effort, right? So here's the action. And I'm going to supply you guys with a handout at the end, so you can write fast and furious if you want, but I'm going to give you something. So find someone you gel with who has a complementary business where you could work together to create a stream of income that wasn't there before for either of you. Create business. Don't wait for the man to walk through the door to give you his money. All right. You getting this stuff? Give me a yes in the chat if this is breaking through to anybody, because sometimes I can't tell if I'm just talking to myself here. Yes. Okay. We got at least a couple of people. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Yes, yes, yes. All right. Moving on. Number 4, classes. So who are you learning from? Study ways to become more productive and valuable so that you can increase your effective hourly rate. What is that? Okay. For those of you who don't know what your effective hourly rate is, the amount of income you're generating less the cost divided by the number of hours that were worked to get it. Right. So think about this for a second. If it takes you an hour to do something and you earn $100 in that hour, right? What do you got to do to earn $200? You have to work how many hours? 2 hours. How do you make more money? Oh, I raise my prices. Okay, so now you got a client who pays you $100 an hour. Now you go to them and say, oh, it just doubled. It went to $200. How long you got that client? They're gone, right? You don't double somebody's what they're paying just like that. But what if you did this? What if you're able to keep that client for many, many more years because you don't piss them off, and you go, well, let me learn something so that whatever it took me an hour to do, now it takes me a half hour. It takes you half the time. How much are you earning per hour? $200 an hour, and you didn't pass it off to the client. You simply learn some things that help you generate processes and systems, and you use tools to make what you do so efficient. I studied this for years because I was running out of time. I failed for so long. By the time I hit my mid-40s, I was ready to win, but I missed, 40 years of basically a lot of lost income. And I was running out of time. I figured, well, I got maybe another 30 years on this earth, maybe at age 40. So what am I going to do? I need to make up for lost time. I need to make every hour worth 2. And I studied that. So you raise your effective hourly rate. So listen to this. Here's a Pew Research Center study. 65% of US workers who have taken a professional class say their learning expanded their professional network. And 47% say it helped them advance within their current company. So when you take classes, you can do that. Something this says so stupid, don't pay attention to the stupid things. Have you ever wasted any time going back and forth on email, phone, or text, trying to book an appointment with somebody, and then they don't show up? It only happened to me? Raise your hand. Raise it high if this ever happened to you. You ever go through yeah, we need to set something up, and that starts on Monday, and by Wednesday, you think you may have it set up because the back and forth with email, or I missed the call, or I didn't see the text. How much time you want to waste with that? And then my friend Teresa Cefali says to me, hey, why don't you use Calendly? I was like, what's that? Now, if you know Calendly, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't know Calendly, just look it up. I got my link. Now I just put it out there. You know how long it takes me to book an appointment? The time it takes me to paste it in the chat. And then I'm done. Every Sunday night, I look at my week coming up and I go, oh, look at all the appointments I have. And I didn't have to spend time to book them. That time I saved, by the way, was hours a month in booking, but then no-show. Ever get no-showed? I can't believe I got no-showed. Don't they know who I am? I'm the regional director. No, they no-show me, right? They forget, they lose track of time, whatever. You lose hours a month. I got that back. So, make your time more valuable. Day planning, the concept of time blocking, learn about this stuff. I have got my days and my weeks locked down, man. I know what I'm doing in the morning. I know what I do midday, and I know what I do in the late afternoon and evening every single day. And I don't let anything encroach in those blocks of time. Monday mornings are networking. Midday are face-to-faces. Afternoon is other meetings and work, and evenings is pure work. That's I block it, and nobody can invade those times if they're not part of either one of those blocks. So I don't do chapter meetings in the evening. I don't do face-to-faces in the morning. I don't do my work in the morning. You see, time blocking, very predictable, and it's a rhythm. All right, let's go on to the next one. Number 5, camaraderie. Oh, now I'm going to get some people in the room. They're going to be like, oh, geez, now he's going to tell me what? Making friends and being happy is going to lead to revenue? Well, let me tell you something. Again, free your mind. Jim Rohn, famous motivational speaker and author, said, we're the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. You ever hear that before? Raise your hand if you ever heard that before. Put it in the chat, say, yeah, me, I've heard that before. I've heard that. You're the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. What does that mean? Well, listen, a 2022 Harvard economics study showed that people are most likely to be friends with people of a similar socioeconomic status. I heard a friend of mine, very successful friend of mine, say years ago, he said, Rob, now this is a bit extreme. He said, Rob, if you want to get rich, find out where the rich live and go hang out among them. And I actually read a book where that's what the guy did. He didn't have any money, but he saved up enough for a nice suit. And he would go to cafes and places and restaurants where successful people hung out, and he would just meet them and talk with them and get around them and hear conversations because he couldn't participate yet. It rubs off. Mindset. If the people you're getting around with are constantly talking about what the Yankees did or how the Mets blew it again, guess what you're going to think about? But if you're getting around people who are going, hey, man, I'm this close to my goal. Hey, man, you know what I discovered? I learned this new tactic for business. And you're hearing it. It's going to rub off on you. So listen, simply hanging out with people who are making things happen and succeeding increases probability that you will as well. So here's my experience. As a brand new networker, I paid attention to people that were well networked and appeared to have successful businesses. Then I put them at the top of my list. I was talking about it before. I make it my business to, remember when I talked about the degrees of relationships? I want the people closest to me to be the people who are making things happen. Why? Because I wasn't there yet. I needed to absorb. You've heard you're not going to get through osmosis. Well, you kind of will if you get around them enough. It's going to rub off. You're going to hear the things and you're going to be thinking about the things. What you think about all day long is what you will become. Surround yourself with the right people who can open up doors for opportunities, and you for them, right? It's always mutual. It's always mutual. Everything I say, right? Number 6, here we go, community. So I say the biggest for last. Community, ROI number 6. So I just heard Chaz talk about this last week, and then I looked up the study. And the interesting thing is, listen to this. So the 2023 Surgeon General's report tracks a decline in social connections, shows that half of adults are lonely, linking it to billions of dollars in healthcare costs. Your healthcare plan expensive? Now you know why. The findings show that loneliness is as bad as smoking and has profound effects on mental health, increasing the risks of heart disease, stroke, and dementia. Now, we're talking about some serious stuff. But if you don't have community who support you, you are susceptible to those. Now, we're all business leaders, right? Have you ever gotten a cold and you're thinking this? You ever think this? I can't afford to get sick. You ever think that? Raise your hand if you ever. I've done that. I can't afford to get sick. You know, you hide it from your family. You're like, no, I'm not sick. And you're hacking all over the place. I can't afford to get sick. You really can't afford to get sick. We're talking about lost revenue. You ever heard of opportunity cost? Yeah. You ever heard of opportunity lost? If you are not performing, you are not producing. So here's my experience. When we got locked down in March of 2020 here in New York, I burned out shortly after. And if you don't know me, some of you don't know me, I go every day and I go all day, sometimes at night. For 3 days, I canceled all my meetings, face-to-faces, client meetings, and I did absolutely nothing. I slapped the laptop closed because I couldn't do anything. I was on the verge of a breakdown. The second time it almost happened again. It took me 3 days to recover on my own, by myself. So the second time it almost happened, what I do, I reached out to my people and community. And listen, people you trust. Talk about that inner circle. Hey, Rob, what's going on? I remember hearing people say to me, I didn't say to them, they said, are you okay? You don't look right. What's going on? On Zoom, on a face-to-face. These are people I met in Master Networks, not my good friends from outside. And I said, you know what? I got something going on. And I told them, you know what? I didn't burn out. I lost a day. And you know, after that, it never happened again. The support of the community is there for you to keep you going, to keep peak. It allowed me to stay in the game longer to increase the opportunities for more revenue. Opportunity lost, right? So you want to be able to stay in the game. You need to stay in good mental health so you can keep working productively. That's what community does. I just read you the Surgeon General's report, right? I was at the doctor today for a well appointment. I'm okay. I went for a checkup. You know what she said? They asked me a couple of questions. You know, I never heard this before. All my life. She says to me, so in the last 2 weeks, have you ever felt lonely or depressed? I was like, what? I go, I never heard these questions before. Yeah, we're starting to ask these now. Why do you think the MD is asking me if I've ever experienced loneliness or depression in the past 2 weeks? Why is she asking that now? It's the study. It's true. It's real. It's happening. The medical doctors are concerned about your mental health because it can take you out, man. We know that. All right. So you guys getting this stuff, right? I'm going to stop this sharing. Just put in the chat if this is making sense. Say yeah, say yes, give me a thumbs up, give me whatever if this is making sense. And if you're going to call BS on me, I'll put my information in the chat at the end of this thing. And you want to have a talk with me? You want to call BS on one of these? I'll be happy to talk to you about it. I'm here to help. I really, really want to see you guys win. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go into a breakout. I've given you the 6 forms of ROI. I'm going to give you a handout at the end before you go. So we're going to go, Sarah's going to, again, put you in rooms of 3 or 4. And here's what I want you to do. If you've done at least one of these forms already, like Bill Utenage with connections, he nailed it. Besides referrals, don't talk about referrals, right? We all know that. That's a given. Briefly tell your group what you've done. Then talk about the relationships you already have where you could potentially create an opportunity with one of the other 5 forms. Does that make sense? Okay, Sarah, you just give me a thumbs up when you get that breakout room ready, and we'll go. But again, besides referrals, tell the group what you've done and talk about relationships you already have where you could potentially create an opportunity with one of the other 5 forms. Brainstorm with one another. I hope you all were really had a good conversation in this breakout and started to think about not just what you did, but what you could do, like thinking about your relationships and what you could do. One of the things I didn't say, and this is kind of a big point, I didn't say this before, but in terms of collaborations, you move through the things that I talked about as far as degree of relationships. And Eliza's in the room here, Eliza Friedman. So in my branding company, Unleashed by Beast brand, I service mid-sized companies, and I develop and build the brand and I coach them along. But it takes a little bit of an investment. And all my self-employed friends and solopreneurs didn't have the budget for that. So I had this idea a couple of years ago, 2.5 years ago. I want to create a community where I could teach and put courses and have people learn from each other as well as me. But I didn't want to do it alone. And one day I'm having a face-to-face with Eliza. Hey, what's going on? Tell me about you. And then we had another one sometime later. And she goes, what's new? And I said, I've been toying with this idea. And I mentioned this idea about this community. And she goes, man, that sounds cool. And I'm like, really? She goes, yeah, you could do this and you could do that and you could do this and you could do that. And I'm like, really? You think it's a good idea? She goes, I think it's a great idea. And I said, you want to do it with me? And she was like, yeah. And we started talking. That took place over a year. 2 months ago, we launched the company. And we have people who are very excited and learning. We got a few people in the room. I know Lois is in here. I think Nancy Wolf was in here. We got some people in here, Maggie. So listen, that's a new form of income. That is, by the way, it's going to be a very good form of income, and it didn't exist 3 months ago. So what was a face-to-face worth? What was me connecting with her with? What was me spotting her in a room and going, we need to do another face-to-face. We need to talk again. Because I remember she said some things that she's got something on the ball. The thing I didn't mention earlier was that everything I talked about in the forms of ROI, I don't want you to think it was willy-nilly. You cannot wing it. Everything I did, I started with the end result in mind that I saw, and I worked backwards, and I said, is this the person that I'm going to do it with? Is this the person I can get a referral from? Is this a person I can give a referral to? Is this a person I could collaborate with? Is this a person I just want to hang out with? Is this a person that can support me because they're a supportive person? Very strategic about all this stuff. You have to be strategic. You cannot wing it. You cannot just be willy-nilly about this. So I just want to open up a few more minutes. Any questions you have, and I'm going to put my information and a handout in the chat. Anybody at all, you can raise your virtual hand, and Sarah will call on you while I put my information in here. Anything at all? If not, then you got it.
All right, well, make sure you continue connecting with each other. Save the chat. I have it saved, so if you lose it or you can't find it or don't know how to save it, you can let me know. Thank you, Rob. Let's give it up for Rob. Like virtual, however you want to thank Rob. Look at all those hands. He's amazing. Amazing, because he lives and breathes this stuff. So again, if you're struggling or having a hard time being in that out-of-box space, schedule a face-to-face. Obviously, it's very easy with Rob because he has a Calendly link. So pretty easy to do that. I want to thank you for being here, for taking time to improve yourself, to connect with other people. Maybe you shared some great insight in your breakout rooms. These classes are for you. These masterminds and master classes are built for you. So if you have feedback, thoughts on topics, things that would be helpful to you and your other fellow members, please let us know. I do want to highlight Our next couple of sessions, we have 2 masterminds coming up in August. The first one is Beyond Bubble Baths. So it's talking about self-care. How do you take care of yourself with Trisha Dobler from the Pennsylvania region? I know a lot of you know her. She's amazing. Rachel, I know you really have connected with her a lot. So really, she's going to share her story of, she's been through a lot. If you know Rachel or you know her, she wants to share her story, how she's incorporated her mental and physical wellness into a way that she can still serve her business but take care of herself. So beyond bubble baths, though, we got to get beyond just that. And then Lynn Wilson, who I think is on this call, give us a wave, Lynn. She's an area director in our Texas North region. She is going to share about leadership, and it's called Where You Lead, I Will Follow. So look for more of that. Look in the app, RSVP, get that Zoom link, share it with everybody you know, invite them to come on here and to continue connecting. And again, I want to say thank you for investing in yourself and being with us today. If you don't know how to get on the app, the new community app, make sure you message either me or just in general, use the chat and let me know, because we'll get you in touch with somebody who can make sure you get on our new community app, which is amazing, and where we're really putting a lot of content, the recording and everything in there. We want you to be able to connect even broader on a national and international level as we grow that community. So everybody take care, have a great day, and thank you again for being here.
Have a good day, everybody. Good to see you all.